Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What is going on? It's your boy, Preston, PhatSamuraiGuy, back again and hanging out with me in the Movie Dojo podcast today, baby, is the legend himself, ISAAC EZBAN. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very happy to be here with you all this afternoon to talk horror, to talk Parvulos. What a
Man.
better thing to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. I've always been a big fan of your podcast. So I'm very excited to finally be here talking about the release of my new movie on digital platforms. And I hope people are enjoying it on this first week. It's kind of exciting to finally see the movie available everywhere and hearing reviews and people's opinions, and yeah, I'm just very excited to be here talking to you, man. Thank you, Preston.
Well, I'm gonna jump the gun here, and because I was gonna lead up to it, but I'm gonna jump the gun here right now, brother. I really enjoyed the movie. Really enjoyed it, man. Really enjoyed Parvulos.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it a little bit later in detail.
Okay, great.
when I played the trailer and all that, but I really enjoyed it. It really surprised me, man. Like it really surprised me. And we'll get into more of that a little bit later. Of course, avoiding spoilers.
Avoiding spoilers, yeah. I will just say avoiding spoilers. Of course, It is a movie that you think you know where it's going to, and you have no idea. And you know, people have told me more about this movie than any other I've made. I think people have told me the more I kept watching, I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. And in the middle of the film, I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. And then in the third act, I wasn't sure how it was going to end. And, you know, that's pretty much the best compliment that somebody can give you on a movie. So I'm happy people are seeing it that way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get into that a little bit more a little bit later. But we got people watching all the way from the UK. Oh, my goodness. We got the entertainment headquarters saying Movie Dojo Army in the house. He's watching. Thanks again for chiming in, everybody, and watching us today. But ISAAC, how did you get the call in, sir, to get in the film industry?
Okay, so we want to go so much back. Okay, let's go. Let's go back to the beginning. Like any good story, let's begin at the beginning. Why not? Okay, so you know what? Originally, ever since I can remember, I wanted to be a film director. You know, I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but that's the case with me since I was like 6 years old. You know, like in kindergarten, people would get accustomed of what do they want to be when they want to grow up. You know, like the kids, and some kids would be dressed up as policemen or as astronauts or as a scientist, something that looks like a little kid's dreams. And I would be dressed as a film director. And also, you know what? I was an oral storyteller from a very young age. My grandma on my mother's side, she's a writer. She writes a children's book, and she instructed me to become an oral storyteller. So I used to go to like radio stations and TV shows, and even like big auditoriums, and just tell stories. You know, like orally, like once upon a time, and I would just tell you a story. Yeah. And it's something that I kept doing until I was, you know, like in elementary school, even in high school. So only when you get to high school, it's not so cool to be the oral storyteller anymore. You know, it's not like one of those talents like singing or playing the guitar. You know, and I started like repressing it, but I kept telling stories. I kept telling stories from like in other formats. You know, I wrote 4 short novels when I was in high school that they were mostly like science fiction and time travel, and also the other thing about it, you know. When people ask me why did I get into filmmaking, it's because of the stories, because I like telling stories. I know it sounds obvious, but I think some people get into filmmaking for other reasons. Some people get into of acting or post-production or editing or the cameras or cinematography. For me, it was all about the stories. And the other thing too is, from a very young age, I remember I was a kid who was afraid of many things that for other kids are normal. I was afraid of playing football because I would be like, hey, what if somebody, you know, kicks the ball and it hits me in the face? I was afraid of getting on a roller coaster in an amusement park because, okay, what if the roller coaster falls? You know, I remember even asking my mom when I was 10 years old, like, Mom, do I have a disease, or why am I so afraid of so many things? And I think going to the movie theater or to the theater to see plays was the two best things in my life, because it was a way to experience all emotions without risking anything, in the safety of your seat and just getting immersed in a story. So that's what I always wanted to do. So I think those three things combined, the telling stories, the fact that I was afraid of stuff and I would love going to the movies, and just writing and starting to craft my own stories. And I remember more as a teenager, we used to go a lot to Los Angeles because my mom has a cousin that lived there. We used to spend there like every summer. I go to like Universal Studios and go get on the ride of how they make the movies.
Yeah.
My mom and my parents tell me, you will be one day like this, making a movie. All that really, really stayed on me, and that formed my dream of making movies. And then, fast forward a lot of time, and I studied communication with a specialty in film, and then I went to the New York Film Academy to study filmmaking. And then I opened up a production company with a friend, an ex-partner of mine, when I was 21 years old. And I really got on this chip of, if you want to make movies, just make movies. So I started making one short film every single week. It was called The Clip of the Week. And every time somebody asked me an advice of, hey, how do I get into filmmaking? I'm like, okay, nowadays everyone has a camera in your pocket, right? So just shoot a movie. And we made 50 short films every single week. We had an idea on Wednesday, we shot it on Thursday, we edited it on Saturday, and it was out on Sunday. And it was like, like when you go to the gym and you exercise your muscles, only I was exercising my creativity. And you can still find those clips of the week. If you look on YouTube, ISAAC EZBAN clip of the week, they're really bad. Sometimes I'm the actor, sometimes my father is the actor. But we never cared much about the production quality. It was more about the idea of one story every week. Then we changed it to short of the month, one short every month, more proper short with proper actors and production design and a cinematographer and all that. And one of those shorts went to the Cannes Film Festival. Another one won in the Morelia International Film Festival, which is the biggest film festival in Mexico. And then we went to Movie of the Year. So it was Clip of the Week, Short of the Month, Movie of the Year. So that's long story short, how I got into filmmaking. I mean, if you want me to talk about one of those times or one of those things specifically, let me know. But that's more like it. Yeah.
That's fascinating, man. That's awesome. We gotta rewind a little bit, and go back to you dressed up as a director, a film director for Halloween. I mean, come on.
So I said about like a million things, and the very first thing I said, that's the one you stayed with.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
I mean, it wasn't in Halloween. It was more like in school when everyone has to dress up as what they want to be when they grow up. Dress up as a film director. I should have dressed up in Halloween, man. But Halloween is more like horror. You want to dress like Michael Myers, like Jason from Your Shirt, which is a great shirt.
Yes, and I did dress up as Jason when I was little. I think I've been Jason Voorhees ever since. I think one time I was Leatherface.
Okay.
Fat Samurai Guy can only be playing big characters.
I dressed up as Leatherface.
Big characters, I can do it.
I have a very funny picture as Leatherface in last Halloween. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's what it's all about. We got Debbie watching right now, and Kevin says storytelling.
Debbie, how are you? Yeah.
Storytelling and storyteller make the best filmmakers. Look at that. Yes, that's awesome.
Well, for me, it's all about telling stories, because we all tell a lot of stories every day. You wake up and you want to tell the story of your dream or what happened to you yesterday or an anecdote from work or whatever. So we all tell stories all the time, man. And I like that my work is also to tell stories in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Creating, that's right. Telling those stories, man. Getting the audience to go on an adventure. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. So I got to ask you, I know you got some favorite movies out there. Let's start with the horror movies first. What's some of your favorite horror movies of all time?
Yeah, I love to talk about my favorite movies. I'll tell you about them. Okay, so I think my favorite horror movie of all time has to be The Shining, man.
Woo!
I mean, I know I'm maybe going too typical. People always say The Exorcist, The Shining. But you know why The Shining? I mean, first of all, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. But the other thing too is, I mean, it's a movie about so many things. It's a movie about family. It's a movie about writer's block. It's a supernatural movie. It's kind of like a haunted house or haunted hotel movie. But more than anything, that movie is about the thing that I'm afraid more than anything in this world, which is not ghosts or anything supernatural, is hurting the people you love. That's what I'm afraid the most. And this guy goes insane and hurts his own family. Does that, so that's really crazy. And also the way the movie is shot, and it's almost like an art house horror movie. Then another horror movie I absolutely love is David Cronenberg's The Fly.
Yes.
The reason for that is because for me is the best combination of horror and romance ever made. I remember watching it for the first time when I was 16 years old, and I couldn't sleep for like a week. I couldn't sleep for two reasons. I was afraid of the brundlefly combined with the machine in the end, like walking all like this in the ground. But I couldn't sleep because I was so sad. The movie is very sad.
Yeah,
it's a love story and it's so sad. In the end, when brundlefly is walking to the telepod and the other guy just shoots the cable. And then he gets like combined with the metal, and you are like, oh my God, now he's never going to be human again. It's so sad. So that's a movie I absolutely love.
One of the greatest remakes ever made, too.
One of the greatest remakes ever made, too. Yeah. Another one of my favorite horror movies, I would say, is definitely Alejandro Amenábar's The Others, because it's such a smart movie. It's so handsomely made, and I love stories, and we'll get into Párvulos, but I love stories about kids that are put in a position that would be dangerous or hard even for adults, and I think this movie does this very well. And then the twist is fantastic. Very similar to The Sixth Sense, but I think I like this one better. The atmosphere, the whole thing about the kids having this disease that light cannot hit them, and it's just a great movie. And then another horror movie I love is The Village. For me, my favorite from Shyamalan. I don't know if it would be a horror movie, but it's a movie about fear. So that's why I put it on the list. And then I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro. So I mean, The Devil's Backbone. I know it's more kind of like a coming of age, but Devil's Backbone for me is one of my favorite.
It's a classic.
It's a classic, and it's
classic.
It really inspired Párvulos too. There's a lot of Párvulos on it. Then, of course, there's Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes, I was waiting for it.
Of course, I mean, if you've seen my work, if you see some of my other movies like The Similars, obviously you've seen how I love all this context of people locked in a place and they all begin going crazy and the paranoia. Of course, Jordan Peele's Us is an amazing movie. I mean, for me, it's like this great concept of like the invasion of the doppelgangers. I think that I can definitely consider that a horror movie. And I mean, Don't Look Now.
He took risks with Us. That's what I like about Us.
He took many risks. I mean, the ending is when you see what's actually happening and like the scale of the whole thing, it's absolutely insane. I love that movie. If you consider Aronofsky's Mother a horror movie, because it's a movie about the ego of an artist destroying himself and his life and his couple, and so that's a great
paranoia movie. A lot of people consider that a horror movie, believe it or not. So
as you've seen, I've named some that are very typical and some that wouldn't be like your typical horror movie, but those are some of my favorite horror movies.
Nice. He's got good taste. That's right. I came across an interview online with the great Peter Cushing, and they were asking him about the horror genre and all that, and what do you think about that and all that, and he said something really interesting. He said that he doesn't consider the horror genre horror. He considers the horror genre fantasy. He considers
the horror genre horror. Okay, that's a weird phrase, but interesting.
He considers horror more fantasy, like with the Dracula movies he was in and stuff like that. He considers Frankenstein. He considers that more fantasy. He considers more reality based things horror to him, like war. He considers like that horror.
He's not so afraid of ghosts and shit like that. He's more afraid of like a real. Maybe if you watch like a Michael Haneke movie, that you would consider a horror movie. Yeah.
Well, going back to The Shining, like you said with The Shining, that's kind of more I mean, people could say they could throw in some paranormal stuff and a little bit of fantasy stuff in The Shining, but The Shining was more reality based than your typical werewolves and vampire, based kind of genre horror movie. You know what I mean? It felt a little bit more real. You got a father trying to kill his family. That's more horror than your typical like vampire movie. You know what I mean?
I guess what I would say about that is, there are different types of horror. You have sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
You have slasher horror.
Psychological.
You have psychological horror.
Yeah.
You have body horror. Like a movie like The Substance or like The Fly, which I mentioned. You have body horror, and then I guess you have what I would call real horror. And when we talk about real horror, it's a movie like what he's describing, like a war movie, and then you have supernatural horror. So I guess there's many types of horror, and people respond to horror in a different ways. I mean, to talk about recent horror, like recent movies that have really, really scared the shit out of me. So there's a new movie from Spain. It's called The Wailing, but it's not a Korean movie, because there's another Korean movie also called The Wailing.
Yeah, that was great. I enjoyed that one.
Great too. That's from many years ago, like 9 years ago. But this movie is called The Wailing.
Okay.
A movie that takes place in 2 different times, and the mythology is so scary because it's like an entity that is, you only see him when you're recording a video on your phone. So if you record a video, you see the guy there, but if you take it out, you don't see it. And it's
shit.
Some genuinely shocking moments. Then going before that, I would say last year's Oddity. It's a movie that when I finished watching that movie, I was afraid to go to my bed.
Dude.
And then the last time that happened to me before Oddity was probably Ari Aster's Hereditary in 2018, which
great movie.
Interesting, because that movie, the first half is like a drama, almost like a drama about grief and loss.
Yeah.
The last hour goes full on horror. I mean, supernatural horror in a very crazy way. So I love horror. It's the genre I watch the most, but very few movies actually make me stay awake at night. I mean, those 3 I just mentioned are maybe the only 3 recent movies in the last like 6 or 7 years that I was really afraid walking to my bed. But I watch many horror movies, and I think horror doesn't have to be scary to be good. I think horror movies are cool just because they are cool. And the other thing I'll say about it, many times when people hear about me and they say, "Oh, you make horror. Oh, okay, I cannot watch your movies. So probably you're a crazy guy, or probably you're sick, or your mind is disturbing." But you know what? The people who make horror, we are the most tender and sweet people, because horror is a very beautiful genre.
That's right.
Because horror talks about very beautiful things. It talks about life after death. It talks about losing someone you love. It talks about monsters. It talks about identity. Horror is a very beautiful genre. And also, if we directors or storytellers or writers or screenwriters who do horror, we connect with that, not because we're broken on the inside, but because we are sweet and tender and even romantic people, I would say.
Yeah, no, well said. But going back to rewinding to Devil's Backbone, you got the chance to meet the man, the legend over here. And I mean, I'm a big fan of this guy's work. I mean, Kronos. I mean, so much great work out there. But he was a fan of your film, The Incident.
Yes, he gave a quote in it. Yeah.
How cool is that? Talk about this project.
Well, you talk about my first movie. Yeah. Okay, I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah, in The Incident, when I made my first movie, I was very much into, I'm very, very deeply inspired by the Twilight Zone. So, I grew up when I was a teenager. I used to watch one episode every night, and I'm also very much obsessed with the theme of like the passage of time and with alternate realities and parallel universes. So I wrote actually 2 other scripts that were more into the sci-fi vein, and I had no idea how the film industry worked in Mexico or what needs to happen to get a film off the ground. I just said, okay, I'm going to make all these movies, and then I had a hard time making them happen. And then I said to myself, I'm going to write a movie that is more simple and contained, that still has my themes and ideas. And, at the time, I was actually I read the novel, David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas, which then the movie by the Wachowski brothers, and I was absolutely marveled by how that story. It was 6 different times, and they all opened up, and then they all closed in the same order. So it's like a very perfect structure of the movie is not like that. The movie goes all over, but in the book it was like that. So I said I want to write a movie that is just like that. And then I combined 2 things. When I used to go to my grandma's house every Friday night for a Shabbat dinner, and she lived in the 9th floor, and we used to climb up 9 floors of staircase. And my father used to tell me, I always wanted to take the elevator, and my father would say, no, you take the stairs because you don't make exercise. So I always remained thinking, what would happen if one day after the 9th floor, you would go to the 1st floor again? Like, how would that feel? And then much later, I saw a book where I saw an image of 2 kids walking in a highway. And I decided that maybe that could be combined with the idea of the staircase. So I just wrote this movie of 2 parallel stories about people trapped in illogical, endless spaces. 2 brothers and a detective locked on an infinite staircase, and a family locked on an infinite highway for 35 years.
Wow.
At the time, I was sure this was a very achievable movie as a first feature film, because it was very contained and very easy to make. It was actually a very complex movie, because it's a movie that features a lot of complex makeup, production design that is very complex as well, locations, casting, everything. But we pulled it off. We shot it for 24 days, so 4 weeks, with a great crew that really gave everything for the movie. Very little money. We shot that movie for $100,000, which is nothing for a movie.
Yeah.
And then the movie got into the Cannes Film Festival, and that was unbelievable. And then it started a great tour across many festivals. It went to CJS and Fantastic Fest and the Beef and Morbido and all the main genre festivals. And then, we got the movie. Guillermo del Toro saw it and gave a great review. And I was so pleased. And that picture is actually from the Brussels International Fantastic Festival where I met him. That was actually many years later, like 4 years later, because I then made my second movie, The Similars, which is my full Twilight Zone homage. It's a movie about 8 people stranded in the bus station in the middle of the rain, and then they all discover they are becoming physically similar to one of them. And
I'm loving this poster artwork. This is such a retro,
it's
style,
like a
classic style. I love it.
Coming out of the 60s, right? Yeah. And the whole movie, if you look at it, the movie itself is like a movie coming out of the 60s. It's like a Twilight Zone movie. And that movie won in CJS Best Latin American Film, and it also played in many festivals. And it got seen by Joe Dante, who gave a great quote on it as well.
Cool.
And then I made my third movie, Parallel, which it was my first one in English.
Yeah,
I made
dude.
that.
This was great.
Oh,
this was really good, man. I really enjoyed this. If you guys watching right now, you're big into sci-fi suspense thrillers, I highly recommend Parallel. Make sure you guys check it out. You can watch it on Amazon Prime right now, and there's other streaming sites. But dude, Parallel was good. That was some good shit.
It was like a bigger, more commercial adventure for me. But it still has a lot of my touch. It's very much like a Twilight Zone episode as well. It's a story where I use a genre to reflect on the ambition of like human ambition.
Yeah,
and it's basically a story of 4 entrepreneurs. They have a company a tech company is going not very well, and they suddenly discover this portal to alternate universe, and they start stealing technology from the other universe and claiming them as their own, and they start bringing this technology to this universe, and then obviously it ends very badly for them.
Yeah.
I feel any great sci-fi movie has to become a horror movie in the last 20 minutes. And that movie, when that movie premiered at the Brussels International Fantastic Film Festival, that's where I met Del Toro. he was there to give a master class. That was when he had just won the Oscar for The Shape of Water, and we were 3 Mexicans there. It was Emilio Portes, who directed Beelzebub. It was Isa Lopez, who made Tigers Are Not Afraid, and who then made the new True Detective show, and myself. And we went to have lunch with Del Toro, and it was great. He is somebody I hugely admire, not only because of he's truly one of like my 5 favorite filmmakers, and it's not just because he's Mexican. It's because the way he uses genre to reflect on other things, on the human nature, on the page, the way he builds billions, the stories he tells. A lot of people said, why is he making Pinocchio again? We've seen that story plenty of times. He managed to make the Pinocchio we've never seen before.
That's right.
He made a movie about religion, war, about life and death, about fatherhood, and now he's making Frankenstein. He's going to make a Frankenstein about things we've never seen before.
I'm excited for that.
I'm very excited, and
yeah.
But not only I admire him as a filmmaker, as a human being, he's so humble and sensitive.
Yes.
He's very aware of all of us in Mexico who are doing genre. Like I saw him in this restaurant, and I had no idea he knows how I look, and he's like, "Oh, Isaac, how are you? You took the mustache out. What's up?" Like if he had just seen me yesterday, like a really, 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 really cool guy. And then we went to breakfast another day with him, and it was really inspiring. So that's where that picture is from. And
that's so cool.
And then I made my 4th movie, Evil Eye, Mal de Ojo, which is my first venture into full horror. It's actually very much inspired by Del Toro. It's a story of 2 girls that arrive on the house of the grandma, and they start discovering that the grandma might be a witch. And that movie was also my first big box office hit in Mexico. It was co-produced by Cinépolis. It became the 3rd highest grossing Mexican movie in 2022. It was just after the pandemic. It was still hard to bring people back to the theaters.
Right.
But that movie managed to do that. And so yeah, that was a great experience to fall into horror, which is also a coming of age for me. Evil Eye is a metaphor to the coming of age.
Yeah. And you were part of some.
Well, of course, the anthologies, Mexico Barbaro and December. So Mexico Barbaro is an anthology. They invited me in 2014 when I had just made The Incident. So Mexico Barbaro is an anthology about Mexican legends. I chose the legend of the Aluches. Aluches are like the trolls or the goblins in Mexico. So the legend says these goblins steal stuff from you. But they are, they are not really evil. They just want to, fool around and play. So it's just like if you're camping with your girlfriend and one day you say, "Oh, I'm missing my toothbrush," or "I'm missing a pen," people say, "Oh, it was probably the Aluches." But I decided to twist that story and made it about Aluches stealing something very important: the dignity of a girl. So it's this couple that goes to a cabin to have their first time in a cabin in the woods, and the Aluches end up stealing something very important.
Whoa!
It's probably the most disturbing things I've shot, but it's also very funny. It's like a very into the horror comedy.
Nice.
And then the December, that was much later after I made Parallel. I met this producer from Germany in the Sitges Film Festival. These crazy producers who wanted to make a movie about the Advent calendar, about 24 days of December before Christmas. And they invited 24 filmmakers from all over the world. I was actually the only Latin American one. They invited filmmakers from Asia, Europe, and States. And all these filmmakers have to create a segment of 5 minutes of Christmas. And I'm Jewish. I don't celebrate Christmas. For me, Christmas is something I always dreamt of celebrating because I see it in the movies, and I grew up watching, Home Alone and asking my parents about Christmas, and it was very funny to do the Christmas perspective of a Jew, and it's actually one of my favorite things I have ever shot. It's a story about a kid that is sick. He's dying. And then we discover that the only thing that keeps him alive is the Christmas carols singing in his window. So the mom invites them inside the house, and they stay singing for him for 70 years. And I told that story in 5 minutes, using 100 actors, using 7 change of times in decades. It's very funny. You need to watch it in December. So it's actually, you know, a very small project. We shot it in 2 days, but it's actually one of my favorite things I've ever shot. Yeah.
Nice. Do you think maybe in the future, just for fun, you direct your own horror anthology movie?
Oh, you mean like many stories from there? Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I mean, usually when you see anthologies, they are made by different directors, and it's kind of like the fun of the anthology to have like that different styles, and sometimes you know, all anthology, even these two where I took part of, are completely uneven, but they are uneven for a reason. You know, they are uneven because it's different styles. But you know, there are some anthologies made by a same director. You know, kind of like you know, this movie from Argentina called Wild Tales by Damian Cifrón. It's a fantastic movie about rage. I love that movie. You know, at some time I wanted to make like an anthology about stories in the highway, like crazy stories that happen in the highway. Something
sure.
And yeah,
The Hitcher, man. I love The Hitcher. I love movies like that.
Highway, yeah. So yeah, I have some stories in my mind about that.
Sure. Oh, well, you know, we're gonna be watching. We're gonna be watching for sure. But going back to Del Toro, man, you know, what made me a fan of him is first was his work. And then you know, watching a lot of his interviews and behind the scenes and special features, he's a fan. That's what made me really, you know, like him a lot more as a creator and as a person. He's just like us. He's a fan.
He's a fan who makes movies. You know, that's what I want to be. I mean, that's why if you follow me on social media, you will see I'm constantly posting reviews on the movies I love, and I consider myself, a film director, a storyteller, but more than anything, I'm a film lover, and I just love watching films and talking about them. So and I love directors that are like that, you know, because he's a fan of movies, making movies. What a better director than that, you know? That's one of the other things I deeply admire from him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Going back to your movie Parallel here, what I really enjoyed about this suspense thriller you got going on here with the sci-fi spice thrown on there was the camera work. The editing and the camera work kept things going. Because you could easily watch a movie just like this, and you know, if someone's not really interested in the characters, or if they're not interested in the story, they could be really bored, right? So not only do you have interesting, well-written characters and a really cool story, the camera work and the editing keeps things going. The scene transitions were really innovative, man. Good
stuff.
What?
Yeah, I learned a lot from my DP, Karim Hussein. He has shot a lot of genre. He was a filmmaker. He made 3 movies as a director, so he understands directors. And he it was amazing to work with him in this movie. I learned so much from him, and we had this idea of shooting everything in the world of the characters with spherical lenses, and everything in the parallel universe with anamorphic lenses. And then we had a Steadicam every day. We had 2 cameras. We had A on Steadicam every day. We had Joan Malnati, who is a great camera operator. He worked on Aronofsky's Mother too. He's worked on many great films that they shoot in Canada, and he had this great arm to move the camera all across the characters, and many scenes we just gave the A camera a priority, and B was just like catching details and stuff, you know, and we had all this idea of, you know, differentiating the universe with color grading and stuff like that. So I think the camera work in parallel is something I'm definitely very proud of.
Yeah, really good stuff. Got Oscar Diaz chiming in from Dallas, Texas. Thanks for watching, brother. Thank you for watching.
Oh, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the show.
Well, since we've been talking some sci-fi a little bit here with Parallel, what's some of your favorite sci-fi movies?
Okay, well, my favorite sci-fi movies, it's actually funny you mentioned, because I think I will have many more than the horror movies. First, my top 1 movie of all times, we could say it's a sci-fi movie. It's my favorite movie of all times. Can you guess which one it is?
Star Wars.
Oh man, you won't guess it. No. My favorite movie of all times. Okay, I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It's made by the same filmmaker who made the others.
Oh.
It's the Spanish director Alejandro Amenábar. My favorite movie of all times is Abre los ojos, Open Your Eyes. It's the movie that they then based upon to make a Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise. A lot of people know Vanilla Sky, but the original version, Open Your Eyes, that's my favorite movie of all times.
Wow.
It's basically Amenábar's tribute to Hitchcock's Vertigo. It talks about so many things. It talks about alternate universes way before Inception, way before The Matrix. It talks about virtual worlds way before any of all that. And it's a movie that, I mean, it's a Twilight Zone movie. I mean, a Twilight Zone type of story. It's also a very harrowing and depressing and bleak drama about a character who has an accident and is disfigured. And it's also a thriller, a very Hitchcockian thriller. And it's also a great sci-fi movie. It's a movie of many genres. So that's one of my favorite films. I mean, I
gotta see this. I gotta watch this, man.
You gotta see it. I
mean, by the way, Star Wars was just a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
A Hail Mary attempt.
I mentioned The Fly, which is The Fly.
Right. And
it's a horror movie, but it's also sci-fi.
Yeah.
Donnie Darko, of course, is one of my favorite sci-fi movies. It's a great time travel story. There's this thing I always wondered, like, how come Orson Welles made Citizen Kane when he was 26? How come P.T. Anderson made Hard Eight when he was 26? And how come Richard Kelly made Donnie Darko when he was 26? And I happened to meet Richard Kelly in LA. I asked him this, and you know what he replies? He says, I was 25.
Oh.
That movie is amazing. That movie is
ruined it.
So good. And then another movie from Richard Kelly that I absolutely love is The Box. The Box was a huge inspiration to create The Similars, my second movie. Nice. And then Inception, of course, is an amazing sci-fi movie. Again, that has many layers, a lot of complexity. It's very original. It's very fun to watch.
What did you think of Tenet? What was your honest opinion of Tenet?
Okay, my honest opinion of Tenet. I know this is going to be controversial, but I absolutely love Tenet.
Really? That's controversial?
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like it. I mean, I don't. I love it. It's not in the same way, of course, as Inception or Interstellar or some of these great masterworks or The Prestige or Memento or The Dark Knight. I mean, not close to that at all. But I feel it's a very ambitious movie. I like that Nolan is obsessed with time. It's an obsession we share, and I like how he plays with time. It feels like and it's a great kind of like a James Bond, Mission Impossible kind of movie with sci-fi. I feel like he tried to make it. The movie becomes very complicated at some point. And it shouldn't have been so complicated. It's more like he tried to make it complex on purpose. I think you lose some of the audience there. And I also feel it came out in a very hard time. 2020 pandemic, nobody going to the theaters. He's insisting, let's release this movie. The movie lost a lot of money. It actually made a lot of studios delay their releases because of how bad it did. So I think it's a red spot because of that. But I think the movie is fantastic. I love it.
It's found its audience now. I think so. I think it's found its audience.
Oh, definitely. Sure. Yeah. It's going to become a cult classic eventually. Yeah.
I would love to see you do an action horror movie.
Oh yeah, that'd be great, right?
Come on, let's do that.
Let's do that.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, action. Anything you combine with horror is always fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Throwing some of that martial arts in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Throwing some Blade 2 homages for Guillermo.
Oh yeah, that's a movie, right? Yeah.
Oh man, well I'm having a blast talking movies of all genres with you, but now we gonna steer it back to the reason we came here today.
Let's do it.
Back to horror, baby. That's right. So everybody watching right now, get ready. Your boy here is gonna play the trailer for Parvulos.
Let's say it.
Let's get it.
Había una vez 2 niños quienes vivían con su padre leñador y su madrastra cerca de un espeso bosque. Hasta acá llegó la pandemia.
Llegó a todo el mundo. Pero ese no fue el problema.
Estuvimos vagando mucho tiempo. Luego encontramos esta casa y todo cambió.
Si vienen las trompetas, ¿o algún otro infectado? Corre.
¿Crees que el monstruo se comió a mis papás?
¡Ven por él! ¡Corre, corre, corre! ¡Contéstame! ¡Te mordieron!
Caminan por la tierra sonando su trompeta. Cuando el mundo acabe, estás con ellos. ¿O estás de sobra?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey. Ho. What? That trailer and the movie scratched. That's right. The suspense, horror, and unexpected dark comedy zombie movie itch, baby. Yeah, man. Very well done.
That's a great description. We should have that on the poster.
Yes, you have my permission. Please use it. But yeah, man, really, really, really enjoyed the film. It was a pleasant surprise because I didn't know what I was getting into, and I sat down and watched it, and I was really intrigued right at the start. And again, kind of like how you mentioned earlier, like, you know, when people have also watched the movie and come up to you to talk about it, they didn't know where it was going from the beginning, and then they thought they knew where the movie was going when it got to the middle, and then they were like, wait a minute, holy shit. It's a total surprise. I was getting Day of the Dead vibes for sure in terms of the dark comedy aspects, and there were some moments in the movie that made me laugh, and then later I was in complete shock as some things happened, which I will not spoil because I want people that are watching the stream now to watch the movie. How did this idea come about, man?
Well, thank you for saying that. I first of all, I want to say that was my whole intention, to deliver a movie that, of course, the trailer sells it as a horror movie, and the poster and all the marketing materials, because that's where the audience is and that's what sells. But for me, I don't like to be, a director of just one genre and just deliver one genre. I admire directors like we said, like Del Toro, like Amenábar, like Bong Joon-ho, who their movies have 5 or 6 genre and even different tones. So as a director, I like to open my coat and deliver a full ride that has horror, it has coming of age, it has drama, it has sexual tension. I wouldn't say it has comedy, but I know it's very funny. But the reason why it's funny is because I like my movies to have what I call flirting with B-movie elements, playing with B-movie elements. And when you play with B-movie elements, it's always gruesome and exaggerated, over the top. And that can be disgusting, or it can be funny, depending on the sensibility and the openness and the taste and the experience of the audience.
Well, I have a dark sense of humor, so there was.
For most people it is funny, but when people say, "Oh, I like how it went funny in the middle," I'm like, "Yeah, it's not a zombie comedy. The thing is because it has B-movie elements, and the B-movie grotesque aspects of it make it funny." But then. I also think it's kind of cool that the movie itself is kind of like a roller coaster, because it becomes very fun in the middle. So the audience, as a viewer, you can lower your guard.
Yeah.
And you don't expect how the movie is going to hit you deep in the end when it becomes very bleak. I wanted to make a movie that would feel very bleak and very harrowing and tragic, and at the same time very tender, almost corny, very emotional.
Yeah.
I remember when I was talking about Del Toro. When I was I think I was still a film student. I was 20 years old, and I saw Pan's Labyrinth in the theater, and I was so amazed by how that movie could have, how that movie it could be like almost like a children's fairy tale with like a princess and a fairy and a creature, and at the same time, there's a scene where the bad guy grabs a peasant and destroys his face completely in a gory fashion that would come out almost like from an Asian movie. And I was like, whoa, are you allowed to do that? Like, can you make a children's movie and then put like gore in it? And then I read many interviews from Del Toro where he said he wanted to make a contrast between the between beauty and brutality. And that really stayed on me. And I think that's something I've tried to do in all my work. But I think Párvulos is the movie that does it the most. And then, to respond to your question about where this idea came from, this idea, the best ideas come from a place, and then they keep growing and growing and growing and developing, right? So originally, the inception of the idea came from watching a movie, which is also one of my favorite horror movies, which I saw in 2014, Goodnight Mommy, this Austrian movie. It's I saw that at Fantastic.
That was wild.
Very wild. And I saw that at Fantastic Fest at the Alamo Draft House in the best way you can watch a movie, which is to see it in the surprise screening. So you have no idea what the movie is going to be about. You have watched no trailer, no anything. And then when I saw this movie, I was so, the movie begins with these kids playing, running in this field and getting on this lake and going on this cave. And then you never know, like, when are the parents going to come back? And I really, really enjoyed this movie. And I was very surprised by, I said, I want to do something like this about kids living in a house. You're not sure where the parents are. And then I came up with the idea of, making it all about what if these kids have a secret in the basement, and then think it's a monster, but then you discover it is not a monster. Then you discover that what lies in the basement is their parents, because they are infected by a kind of zombie rabies disease. And then then this is when I decided, okay, I'm making a zombie movie, but all my movies are very original. I have some, I always say, if you're making a movie where you're spending so many years on it, make it fully original. There's no point in making something that is not original. I'm not saying I'm discovering something that hasn't been done before. All my movies have references from stuff that have been done before, but make an idea that is original. So why am I making, why is ISAAC EZBAN making another zombie movie? We've seen so many zombie movies. But then I said to myself, all these zombie movies are about the same thing, about zombies invading cities and destroying the streets and the day of the apocalypse. But there hasn't been that many movies about what would happen if a loved one gets infected. Like what would you do? Like, would you take care of this person? Would you this person in the basement in chains? Would you try to find a cure? And thinking of that's how I came up with making this movie that would begin very much like a Goodnight Mommy kind of movie, and then you discover it's a zombie movie, but it's never about the zombies invading streets and stuff. It's more about like a coming of age of a family that lives upside down, a family where the kids are the ones who educate the parents. And I always like using the genre to reflect on something that is human. In The Incident, for me, The Incident is a movie about the passage of time, and then The Similars is a movie about identity and losing your identity. And then Parallel is a movie about the dark side of human ambition. Then Evil Eye is about the coming of age. And for me, Párvulos is a movie about family. It's a movie about trying to save your family no matter what. And it's a movie about keeping your family together under all circumstances. And that's when I discovered that was the metaphor what the movie was about. So for me, it's a metaphor of those two things, of keeping your family together, saving your family. It's also a metaphor of how kids take care of parents. In real life, the parents take care of the children, and then eventually the children end up taking care of the parents. That's like the rule of life. But I wanted to make a movie where that happens from a very young age. And then the third thing, it's also a movie about coming of age, and I love movies where you put kids in a dangerous situation that would be dangerous even for adults. Movies like I mentioned Good Night Movie, I mentioned the others. We talked about Pan's Labyrinth and Devil's Backbone. Somebody told me once Pan's Labyrinth is the movie I made for my daughter. I mean, sorry, I'm messing the titles up. I never made Pan's Labyrinth. Let me correct that. Somebody told me once Evil Eye is a movie I made for my daughter, and Parvulos is a movie I made for my kid. Or somebody said Evil Eye was my Pan's Labyrinth and Parvulos was my Devil's Backbone. And in a way, I made two back-to-back two coming of age movies. One that is very feminine and one that is very masculine, to have come like my epiphany of the coming of age.
Copy that. We got DJ Anubis here from the Metal Tavern podcast saying, "Good evening, Isaac."
Hey, good evening. How are you? Great to find you here.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for chiming in, brother. Well, let's take a look at the trailer again, and then by all means, give us some behind the scenes making of the film. That'll be information, of course, avoiding any major spoilers once again, because I want everybody to go out and watch this movie for sure. So let's go ahead and bring it up. How long did it take to film the movie, Isaac?
So the movie was shot in 6 weeks. We shot 6 weeks in La Marquesa, which is like a kind of like a place near Mexico City, half an hour drive in the forest. We shot in the house for 3 weeks and a half. Then we had about a week and a half in forests in La Marquesa, and then we had a full week where we did the basement in Mexico City.
Gotcha. I really loved about the film is the look of it, the cinematography, and the look of it really makes the movie feel a lot more bleak and just like this future is fucked up, man. Like this post-apocalyptic world. There's nothing bright and colorful here. You know what I mean?
Yes, I mean, that has been very criticized by many, but for me, the look is very important because I wanted to make a movie that would feel very much like actually I got this idea, we've seen a lot of dystopias that have this like a desaturated look, but for me, the movie that really inspired this look was a movie that is not a dystopia. It's not even a genre horror movie. It's a movie by Anton Fuqua called Emancipation from 2022 with Will Smith, an Apple TV Plus movie about the slaves fighting for their freedom. And I love how it was almost black and white, but there was color in it.
Yeah,
and it was more. So a lot of people ask me why you didn't just make it black and white. Black and white is not so interesting for me. I mean, it's very simple, and it puts the movie commercially on another layer. Not everyone can be Robert Eggers and shoot the Lighthouse in black and white, but for me it was much more rich and interesting. Instead of black and white, a world with no color, which is not the thing, because there is color, but the color is very toned down, because yes, we are talking about a world that has no hope, no cheerfulness, no happiness, therefore no color. But then again, all the hope comes from memories. All the hope comes from the past. So everything.
Oh, we may have lost Isaac there for a second. Hold on. Let's see. We're got a couple of glitches here. Let's see. A lot of great zombie films, but none really capture real-life approach of how humanity would actually handle such a thing. A lot of it is very exaggerated. Yes, I agree, Anubis. Let's see if Isaac comes back here. You may have to bounce out and bounce back in. But yeah, this movie was really good. You see, that lake shot is amazing. Great eye with the camera. Yes. Yeah. Let's see if Isaac comes back. Let me message the legend. See what happened there. Let me give him a message. This is what happens when you go live. It's very risky at times. I'm going to send the legend a message right now. Hold on. It happens, yes. All right, I just sent Isaac a message, and we'll see what happens. If not, you're just gonna be seeing me for a while. I told him try popping out and popping back in, and we'll go from there. So we shall see, but we got to keep it rocking and rolling. Here he is.
Am I back?
You are back, brother. It's all good, man.
I was always here. I never left. I kept hearing you. I kept hearing that how you don't see me, but I never left.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good, man.
I would never leave you, man. I'm here.
I was getting scared, you know. I was like, no, don't leave me, Isaac. No, it happens sometimes when you go live. Things are glitchy sometimes. That's all good, brother. But yeah, Anubis was saying that lake shot is amazing. Great eye with the camera. He really was loving what he's seeing so far. He says right here, he's very excited to see this. He actually loves the approach to the story. Look at that.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what? You can watch it now at the safety of your house. You can grab your parents, cook some dinner for them, put them in chains, tie them in chains to the couch, and just hit play.
There you go.
And yeah, I hope you enjoy the ride. And we were
Force feed them.
Color grading, right? About the color of the movie. So I was saying everything that comes from the past, like like the books they read at bedtime, like the drawings that they make, like the picture that they see, even when they see the Christmas picture later on, that's all in full color, because the hope and the happiness comes from the past. But I mean, you don't have to be in a dystopia to feel this way. You know, it's interesting that I think that's how time works in real life. Doesn't it happen to you, to all of us, that when you remember last year or last summer, you always think you were happier?
Yeah.
When the movie first premiered at Fantasia last summer, I remember reading this great Letterboxd review that somebody, just like a 3-word review that said, "Memories are brighter." And I was like, yeah, he got the movie, you know? So I know it might be something very obvious, but it's still a way to use color to tell the story. So that's, and it's been very controversial. You know, distributors have insisted a lot that I make a version that is not, that has more color. I'm like, this is not black and white. The movie is in color, but the color is tuned down because it's a world with no hope, a world with no happiness. So it's a way to use color to tell the story. That's how the movie needs to be. Yeah.
And shout out to the cast, man. Everybody in the film acted so good. I mean, and the 3 kids, the three younglings we got in here, man, they really good, really believable. Because sometimes, you know, we get some bad actors, period, adult bad actors. But sometimes, a lot of the time, you know, we get some bad child actors that could kind of ruin a movie. Like you're like, I like the movie, but oh my God, I couldn't stand that kid. Luckily for this film, that's not the case. All these young actors here did such a good job. Very believable.
Yes, totally. You know what? Casting is always hugely important for any kind of movie. I used to have this professor who used to say casting is 50%. I think when you're working with kids, casting is almost 80%, because, you know, getting the right cast. And you know, somebody told me, man, you made a 2-hour movie that is held together by 3 kids. You know, they are the ones that really carry the film.
It's impressive.
I mean, and they and the parents and the girl that comes in, but the kids are the ones that really carry the film the whole time, right? So that was a huge challenge to find the right actors for this. You know, we saw a lot of kids. We saw over 100 kids. Finding Mateo, the guy the actor who plays Benjamin, the young kid, the one who shows right there, was actually the easiest one. You know, he was my first choice for the role. When I saw him, I was like, it needs to be him. Then finding the brother in the middle, Oliver, the one with the glasses, that was also kind of hard. I mean, but what was really, really hard was finding Salvador, the old brother, because I originally had envisioned somebody who was much younger. I wanted an actor that I didn't want this to feel like two kids and one teenager. I wanted this to feel more like like three kids. Like the youngest would be like 6, 7, and then would be like 9, 10, and then the one would be like 11, 12. That was my idea for this, and this is because the scene when he is with the girl, that should have played totally different if it was really like an older girl with a young boy, like she's desperate in this dystopian world. But it was really hard to find, because this role, the old brother, he's always, he's this authoritarian figure that is always like yelling the kids, and it's almost like the father figure in the house. And when I saw all these auditions of these young kids that were like 11 years old, when you see these kids like yelling, it didn't look real. It looked fake. It looked like they were acting. And then my casting director, Rocío Belmont, is my third movie with her. She also made Similars and Mal de Ojo. She said, why don't we just go with an older actor? Let's find a kid actor who is maybe 17, 18 years old. And I insisted, no, he has to be 11, 12. But then we just couldn't find our actor. We looked for many months. And then when we found Felix, he was great. He is 18. And, he's actually very physical because he plays football, and everything happens for a reason. Now I'm glad I kept him, because his role is very physical, walking with the crutches and having to do all this. And like an 11, 12-year-old boy would have never done all that. Like, I was delusional trying to get a boy to do all that. And then the scene with the girl, it still kind of works. I mean, they kind of look the same age. They're actually not. She's 25, he's 18. Yeah. But I sometimes, as a director and as a person, I'm very stuck with an idea, and I don't open myself to other ideas. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes as a director, you have to let go of your obsessions or fixations to get something better. So I had to let go of this idea of the young boy with the older girl in that scene, in order to achieve an actor that would work better throughout the entire movie. Yeah.
Well, character-wise, it worked. Both of them. Their look, they look the same age. So character-wise, I think it worked for the film. But another thing I loved about the movie was the sound design, especially in the beginning, man, where you just, the kids are looking into just pitch black, and you don't know what's in there yet. And you just hear the horrifying screams and growls of something in there that could get under your skin, man. And sometimes not showing sometimes that works better sometimes, and giving you the creep factor. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to the trumpets.
Yes.
Yeah. The trumpets, man, that can fuck you up just hearing that, And by the way, stay away from the trumpets, everyone. They're bad people.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you know what? The sound design is always very important in a horror movie. You get more scared, you get more atmosphere, more vibe from the sound than anything else. Yeah. And at the time, I really, really wanted that we work with this great sound designer. We actually did all the post-production in Guadalajara, Jalisco, because we have some post-production funds from there. And this great sound designer that he actually comes from Guatemala, he really understood everything I wanted to make. He and all the, from the point of the noises you hear of the parents in the basement, like what you said, when it all goes dark, because we had to find a very middle ground between, it had to sound like a monster, so you wouldn't imagine that those are real people. But if it sounds like a big monster like Godzilla, then when you see the parents, it's not believable that sound came out of them. So It was really hard to find that middle ground. We made a lot of tests about that. And then, this whole thing with the teeth, clacking the teeth of the mom and the dad, and the scene when they eat Valeria with all the guts, and then the thing with the trumpets and and it's a movie with a lot of fights, a lot of gunshots, a lot of things breaking the house. So yeah, the sound was a big challenge, man. I definitely worked a lot on the sound of this movie. I'm glad you picked up on that.
Oh, the shout out to this actor right here too. Oh, I'm sure that I felt like this guy was really enjoying his role without spoiling anything. Yeah.
You mean Noé? Yeah.
Yeah. He did a good job. He did a great job.
Yeah, no, Noé Hernandez is one of the best actors in Mexico. You see him in a lot of movies. They always put him as the bad guy. The narco, the kidnapper, the bad guy. But he's actually a very sweet guy. And I've seen him also in a movie where he's the lead and he's a good guy, and he actually does that very well. So yeah, it was great working with him. He was my first option for that role. He had to do all this crazy religious monologue, for when they get to the house. I mean, I won't say I don't want to give any spoilers, but yeah, you'll see he's one of those villains that you really hate, and that's kind of like what I want.
Exactly. And look at this. It's just what? Oh yeah,
that's how the trailer ends. So I mean, if that doesn't make you watch the movie, I don't know what will.
There you go. But yeah, some great gore effects in the film. Actually, rewinding back to Parallel. That's one of the probably one of the best final kill death scenes I've seen in a while in Parallel. Right at the end.
Now that
comes to the antagonist,
I've killed people in all my movies, but I think Parallel has to be one of my top 2 or 3 favorite kills I've made.
That was phenomenal.
Because we went full on body horror, and full on gore, and we did this cast of the actor, Martin Wallström from Mr. Robot, fantastic actor from Sweden, who came to do Parallel with us, and we found this way to actually, we just wanted to find like the coolest way to kill a villain. And I love seeing that movie with a big crowd, because when that happens, they all go like, like they can't believe that's actually happening, That
was great. It was so
good.
That
was so longer in my director's cut.
Yeah. There you go. Champ Blaze, thanks again for watching and hanging out with us today. Anubis says, so technically this film will be the actual blueprint for a real zombie apocalypse. Just need to get my zombie outbreak response vehicle.
Well, some people have commented on that. Some people have said this would be like a real, like if a real zombie apocalypse would happen, this is how they could look. I don't know, man. I mean, zombies have been done so many ways. But yeah, I mean, let's have you see the movie and see if you still think that way. Yeah.
There you go. Well, all the way from the UK, Kevin says this film looks awesome.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Hopefully we release soon in the UK. But if you have any access to the Apple iTunes store from the US, you can watch it.
And Amazon Prime as well. It's actually on Amazon.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, yeah, because Anubis is asking, is this streaming yet or not out yet? Yes. So the film is already out in digital platforms. You can buy it or rent it on iTunes, Google, Amazon, whatever store you use. Only in the US stores, but you can find access to enter the stores from other countries too.
Well, brother, congratulations on the success of the film, winning so many awards. It's going to lead to bigger and even better things that you're already doing. I could talk to you, brother, all day about horror and sci-fi and all that good stuff. But this guy's he's a busy man. He's got some filmmaking to do. So before we wrap it up for today, Isaac, is there anything you'd like to say to your followers?
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. There's really nothing better than just talking horror and talking about the movies we love. And thank you so much for this space. Thank you so much for promoting Párvulos. And, of all my movies, this is the most personal one that I've made. This is a movie that really comes from the bottom of my heart. And, movies transform each other when you try, when you take so long to make them happen. Originally I saw this as a movie about the end of the world. Then I saw this as a movie about coming of age. And then I discovered this is actually a movie about a family. This is a movie about trying to save a family, about trying to keep a family together no matter what. And that's something that I can very much personally relate. So this is a movie that is very personal for me. And I hope you all enjoy it. It's already out, like we said, iTunes, Amazon, Google, whatever you use. So hopefully you can check it out this week. Remember to post your reviews on Twitter, IMDb, Letterboxd, whatever you use, because it's always important, especially for independent cinema, to spread the word out there. And hope you enjoy it tonight, or whenever you watch it. It will be a pleasure taking you all on a ride in the woods. That's a ride that I hope will leave you with some nightmares, but one that I also hope will leave you thinking about some of the most beautiful things in life. Yes. Hope you enjoyed Párvulos, and thank you, Samurai, for the invitation. See you soon.
Oh, yeah. All right. Don't go anywhere, Isaac. But thank you, everybody, for watching. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Old Samurai Guy. Follow the Movie Dojo podcast right here on YouTube and on Spotify. And click on the link below. You can follow Isaac on Instagram. Keep an eye out for his filmmaking journey. That's right. Continuing, giving us awesome things. And I haven't seen the movie yet, Isaac. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm going to throw another Hail Mary out there. I guarantee you will enjoy Párvulos a lot more than 28 years later.
Oh, well, that's a big compliment, because I just saw that movie a week ago, and it's one of my favorite movies of the year.
Oh, you like it? Okay.
Love it. And you know what I said? This is not the first coming of age zombie movie. It's the second. That's what I said. I saw 28 years later.
Oh, we have fun here. And there you go. You got a follower already. Anubis is following you right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank everyone for watching. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Keep watching them horror movies, baby. And take care, guys.